Are you live? Good morning, Genesis. So happy to see you here, and I welcome you to Genesis Center for Spiritual Living. If you would please stand and sing our opening song with us.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I am I'm in the right place at the right time. I'm just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here. I am getting the message loud and clear. My soul is welcome here.
Thank you, everybody. Wonderful to see you all here this morning. We have some new people. That's good to see. Genesis is a community dedicated to love, inspiring harmony, and creating connections to empower spiritual growth. And we love that you are here to share in that with us. My name is Cynthia Zink, and I'm one of the practitioners here, and I get to be your host today. Thank you, Dave. I'm really turning red, aren't I? Yeah, thanks. So we are currently in the process of, before I start that, if anybody is visiting us online for the first time, if you would just write a note to Cal, he is the person in charge, and just say, I'm new, I'm here, I found you on Facebook or Meetup or wherever you found us. That would be great. So we are currently in the process of bringing a new minister in. In support of this process, we ask you to please join in saying our Minister Sacred Covenant prayer, which will be up here in a minute. I knew it would be. So if you would join me, please. I recognize there is one life. This life is God's life. This life is my life now. I am one with this life in all its blessed expressions, which includes the presence of a new minister for Genesis Center for Spiritual Living as a revelation of God as love. As Ernest Holmes says, I dwell in the house of love. Love attends me in my home of the soul. I shall never leave this home of the spirit. I shall abide in this home forevermore. Feeling into this love, I experience my new minister with full cooperation and agreement with my community, knowing these powerful truths about myself. I am powerfully expressing divine love, inspiring all to do the same. I am blessing and honoring all paths of spirituality, awakening deeper truths and spiritual growth. I am a place where God shows up, expressing divine love, allowing truth and joy to heal all. I am embracing, teaching, and exploring spiritual truths from diverse spiritual teachings. I am teaching and embodying prosperity, trusting that God is the source of my good. I now accept this highest expression of spirit as myself, and I know this expression is now being revealed as the new minister that serves the highest and greatest good for Genesis. I am grateful, we are grateful, and so it is. That's our welcome committee. So the announcements for this morning. Oops. We are having an annual meeting next Sunday on June the 4th after the service to hold an election for new board members. The candidates are Vicki Pate, Dave Pennick, Christine S. Young, and Cal Boyle. Feel free to connect with them if they are present and you have any questions. Cal is here today and Dave Pennick is here today. Would you guys raise your hand, wave, do something? If you have any questions or ask what their thoughts have been, and maybe ask them why they wanted to join the board. No, well, the board votes on the positions. We don't have anything to do with that. Yeah. After service, Sunday, today, we have Reclaiming Joy After Loss. It goes from 12 to 1 or 1:30, depending on how many people join us. It is a Zoom meeting that I, together with Diane Dyer, who is a practitioner emeritus, get together in a caring, safe, and supportive environment for this amazing journey in mending your heart. Experiencing loss is universal. There are many faces of loss. This group is a warm and safe place to share your story of loss and to reclaim your joy. Every Wednesday at 7 p.m., join Karen Williams and me for an intention circle via Zoom. We each create our own intentions and then they are prayed on for the following week. And then we get together again. A love offering is always appreciated. The Science of Mind textbook in a year. Practitioner Karen Williams is following a guide to read the entire Science of Mind textbook in 1 year. Every day you will find posted on her Facebook page, Karen L. Williams, RSCP, and the Genesis family page. For those of you that may have a newer Science of Mind textbook, it is listed in the front of that. And that's what she's following. So now it's time for us to meet and greet everyone. So if you'd like to take a couple minutes to stand and to say hi to those that you haven't seen for a while, and maybe introduce yourself to the newcomers, that would be great. Okay, so if anyone brought a guest this morning and is attending for the first time, we'd love to meet you and learn how you heard about us. Or if you just came on your own and are a guest for the first time, if you would be comfortable standing and introducing yourself, that would be great. Welcome, Marty. Ask her. Are you comfortable? You want it? Okay.
Emily, I am from Kent, Washington.
Great. Welcome. Emily heard about us on Meetup.
Welcome.
Anyone new online, Cal? We're glad to both have our new people and the regulars. We're always glad to welcome family back. I didn't catch everybody. Did everybody get a prayer card, an envelope, or a online offering? I see that. Michelle, if you'd pick one up on your way too, that would be great. So I would like to thank all of our volunteers today. We're always grateful that people volunteer to come and help set up and to help break down. And I'm grateful that Michael Johns is running the camera and the projector, and his assistant, Eric, I forgot your last name, I'm sorry. Jacobs. I should remember that. Next week. And Soren Jensen is back for our sound and help set up with that. Cal is our online host today, and he's also our leader for the congregational songs. Thank you, Cal. We're always grateful for our volunteers that show up every Sunday. We could not pull this all together without you. We currently have openings for setup, for coffee and refreshments, and to tear down. While you can show up anytime, if you sign up ahead of time, we can make sure everyone doesn't volunteer for the same week. You can see me or Gideon, who is our volunteer coordinator, for more information. A sign-up sheet is on our table. Welcome all of our volunteers. So our service practitioner today is Randy Singer, practitioner longer than I am even. 1 year. So if you have a prayer request or if you want to have a prayer after service, he will be available over here in this corner. And he's welcome to, or you are welcome to request prayer for anything that may be on your heart, or just for gratitude for all the blessings that you already have. So now, if you would join us in singing Out Beyond.
Beyond out beyond ideas of right and wrong. There's a field, I'll meet you there.
Good morning. My name is Randy Singer. They said they were looking for a singer before, and you got me. All right. I come from a long line of singers, but anyways. So today, yeah. Take my wife, please. So today I'll be reading from Living the Science of Mind by Ernest Holmes, and on page 198, Direct Contact with the Infinite. It is written, "But the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness unto him. Neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned." This means that the objective senses, the intellect with all its arguments, might easily keep us from the kingdom of good unless we are careful to remember that spiritual things must be spiritually discerned. There is an inner meaning to everything, an inside to every fact, a hidden cause within every visible effect. This cause is spirit. If we spiritually discern this hidden cause, if we inwardly know that it is operating for us, then we are thinking from the recognition of the allness of good. We all have direct access to this parent mind, but we do not all use this direct access because we're so used to judging from external facts. It is difficult for us to get away from the apparent long enough to judge the real. When we know that there is but one spirit in the entire universe, we shall know that there is but one source for all forms. We shall know that every form is some manifestation of this source. When we have found that this source is also centered in us, we shall know that there can come directly to it, and discerning that its spiritual nature is love and truth and beauty, and particularly that it is responsive. We shall make known our requests with thanksgiving, with complete mental abandonment. And so now we take this time just to give thanks, to know that Spirit is already here. It always has been, it always will be, and we are in the center of it, and it is working is as and through us. And anything that is available is as and through God is available right here for each of us. And it's a matter of waking up to it and turning our head and saying, yes, thank you, God. And so right now we just say, thank you, God. I release it into the action of law, and so it is. All right. So now we're going to do something other than what's on there.
Come on, you're a singer.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And so now introducing the fabulous, classy, old friend of mine, the Reverend Liz Mirante.
Thank you, Randy. That's probably the best introduction I'll ever get. They said, we didn't have your bio today. And most of you know me, but it's always so funny, that expression. For those of you who don't know me, I'm this, but for those of you who do, I'm not. I mean, what does that even mean? I don't, and I trip over that. So for those of you who don't, and those of you who do, I know Randy because he grew up in the church that I found Science of Mind through, what's now the Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle. And almost as soon as I got there, I knew I wanted to be a minister. That's what my life had been leading to. I hadn't known it till then. And so I became a minister in '99. As I said, my training in Seattle. I know Cal from there, well, that's those of you who are here, those are the two I've known forever and ever and ever. And I spent, how much do you need to know? It's so much better when somebody else does it than they just keep it to a paragraph. So after serving on the staff of Seattle for many years, I went down and headed the pulpit in Monterey for 5 years, and then between that and after that, I had a couple of teaching stints in Ukraine, where we have a teaching center. Yes, we have the interference. Just, is it bugging you guys? Okay. Is it bugging the viewers? That's always the other thing. Okay. So if it gets really bad, I'll just change, and I'll weave that into my talk on perfection, huh? So anyway, came back to the Northwest in 2018, which is my home. It is where I grew up, and I raised my kids up here. So I'm glad to be back, and especially because it lets me speak at places like this. And before I go any further, I just want to acknowledge, for those of you that were hoping it would work for Reverend James and myself to co-minister, I just wanted to acknowledge that when James and I really sat down, because he had a bit of an interruption. As you might remember, his mother-in-law passed away very suddenly. When we really sat down and looked at it, we just didn't feel that we could serve you in the way we wanted to and in the way that you deserve. And so that's why we stepped away from that. So we were disappointed. I feel probably some of you were disappointed. Maybe some of you went, oh, good. But at any rate, I just live up the pike. I told Eric that I am happy to speak here as often as you need someone. I gave him my schedule for the rest of the year. And I'm also let him know that I'm happy to do workshops on Sundays. And I gave him a couple of thoughts for them. But at some point, as you're waiting and praying and discerning, and you guys are certainly in my prayers too, if there's thoughts come up about a workshop that you'd like, or especially something on one of our core principles that you'd like a review, or newer folks would like teaching on, just let me know. Because that'd be fun for me. Perfect. So we're finishing up this month of perfection versus excellence, which I thought was really entertaining. And it was entertaining for me, as these things usually are, because for years I was living under the delusion that I was not a perfectionist. Anybody who's seen my house knows that I'm not a perfectionist, and always do things like, oh, by the way, battery pack needs to be out here. It's like, he said, can you take your shirt off? And I said, no. Yeah, he denies it. So, that try to get everything to hang straight and not be pulling, and yeah, so goes out the window. But but I really did think, because I'm kind of messy and this, and then when I really started to look at it at some point, I realized there were a lot of things that I didn't do or attempt because I didn't think I'd be very good at it. Didn't think I'd be perfect. So as we're, oh, and another example is I'm going to be speaking at the end of the month, next month, and Eric's already created a theme, which is heart and head. And I'm doing the last talk, which I love the summary, but to not know what anybody else will say triggers something, because I want to be able to pull in threads from it. I don't want to have this great idea and then find out it got talked about in the second week of June, because I want it to be a perfect talk. So, yeah, so I get to play in that area a lot. So we'll see next month how it goes. So I'm hoping that those of you who've been following along with this talk series have been doing the inside look to see where your perfectionist may live. Some of you are aware of it and think it's great, and who cares? And some of you might be like me and say, nah, I'm not, because I've got this, I do it. But keep looking. And I'm going to be asking some questions today, kind of have an interactive, not that I'm going to necessarily ask you to answer, although if you have something, why, by all means, but to keep checking in with yourself as we go through today. And I'm going to start with a quote from Mikhail Baryshnikov, the wonderful ballet dancer. He said, my jump is not high enough. My turns aren't perfect. I can't get my leg behind my ear. How many of you can? How many of you have tried? Please don't do that, he says. Sometimes there's an obsession with technique that can kill your best impulses. But communicating with an art form means being vulnerable. Where does that land in your body when I say that? Being imperfect. Being vulnerable and being imperfect. And most of the time, he says, this is much more interesting. Trust me. And, you know, I really don't think that this is limited to the arts. It's limited, it's expands to everything we do. And that end, he says, trust me, is in the end, I think excellence, moving to excellence, not perfectionism, is about trusting. We'll talk a little more about that later. So what keeps us pursuing perfection? And I hope this isn't just me. Why do we think we need to be perfect? Well, sometimes we get the message from our parents. Some cultures are really on that, and some specific parents are on that, and their parents probably made them. You know, we have all those, and in the culture we have all those great little lines like practice makes perfect. And advertising, you know, have the perfect this, have the perfect, make the perfect meal, have the perfect life. So there's a lot of pursuit of perfection that we're being driven toward, and then, you know, we can look toward the Judeo-Christian Bible, which one quote is, be perfect, just as your Father in heaven is perfect. And we think that means, oh God, I can never make a mistake because I'm supposed to be like God. We'll come back to that one in a minute. So from all kinds of places and ways, we get the message that we need to be perfect. And if I'm not perfect, then I'm not good enough for anything. I'm unworthy. I won't be loved. Take a second, close your eyes if you want to, And ask yourself, what comes up for you? How do you language it? If I don't do this right, if I'm not perfect, then I'm what? So just take a minute. And if you don't have anything, you might flip it and say, or if I am perfect, if I do it perfectly, then what's your fantasy about that? And it's just for your own information. Because I would say to you that pursuit of perfection, that the driving force of it is fear. And as we'll explore through much of this talk, fear being the driver, fear being the motivation, doesn't necessarily give a rise to a lot of great stuff. Excellence, on the other hand, is that trust in self and the universe. As Anna actually said earlier when we did our gratitude circle, she was saying, you know, we knew that the singer we kind of gradually got the impression that the singer would not be here this morning. We trust that everything will unfold properly. It'll work out. You might get out of here early. On the other hand, we know me, I can fill up all the time we need. There. Okay. Thank you, Karen. It's excellent. It's excellent. So again, I think that fear is the driver that keeps us pursuing perfection. You know, and pursuing perfection, is it like that or is it that? Whereas excellence, we have to trust in ourselves and the universe. So how does that pursuit of perfection look? And this may not help. How does it look? Well, a little review, especially for those of you who are new. When we are pursuing perfect, then a lot of times we're not willing to take risks. We just keep on doing the same old, same old. And I mentioned earlier, I kind of stumbled in realizing that. One that, boy, this is in my family, we try to be right all the time. You know, do you want to be happy or do you want to be right? Well, in my family, it's you got to be right. When you are moving toward excellence, you have room for mistakes because you want to learn. You want to learn. You don't have to be right about everything. I am still on learning this. When you are pursuing that perfection, you need to control because there's always, again, that fear that if something goes that I can't keep a lid on, then all hell's going to break loose. And when we control and when we get angry quickly, which is a way to cover fear and control, it gives us a sense of what I like to call faux power, false power in the moment. Faux power, that sounds like a song. And I knew you were going to do that. I was doing it in my head. Thank you so much. And another way it looks when we're pursuing perfection is we need to judge everything. This is good, this is bad, this is good, this is perfect, this isn't. I have exhausted myself at different times when I realized how my brain needed to judge and keep tabs on everything. Whereas when we're looking for excellence, we work with what comes. We accept. We come up with songs that we can sing. More importantly than how it looks when we're pursuing perfection is how does it feel? and think about when you've had that idea, oh my gosh, this has got to be perfect. And sometimes it can start out, this is why it's so sneaky. My daughter got married New Year's Eve. I didn't really have the thought, but there was probably something in there as like, I want this to be perfect. Many brides, of course, go into that, this wants to be perfect. One of the first weddings I did, I could tell, bless her, that this woman, it was a second wedding. She needed it to be perfect. She's looking at the last minute at all the flowers and, that like, oh God, I don't like how the flowers are. So I could see they're up in front of me and I could see she's still on, oh man, the flowers were not the way I wanted them to be. They don't look perfect. This isn't perfect. She's not married to that person anymore. It wasn't perfect. But after that experience, I started taking my couples, if they were up to it, and right before the ceremony, I have them do just a little meditation and breathing to let everything go, to know that the perfection is that holy connection they're about to make, and actually do a little bit of the commitment there and say, here's the real wedding right here and just in this moment. Of course, I didn't think about it. And one time I had a bride with, as many brides would do, wear a lot of mascara, and she started crying because she really touched into her love for her husband, and then she had a big mess, and I went, oh. You're welcome. But that idea of, let the other stuff go. It's the way it is. What's important in this moment? So when we're pursuing perfection, does it feel light or joyous? No. Do you have a sense of excitement about it? I know if I fear something isn't going to be like just the way I think it should be, I feel a sense of dread and kind of a paralysis. And I can't even move forward. There's a sense of pressure. It's not like, oh yes, it'll be perfect. It's like, oh God, if you're pursuing it, it's got to be perfect. And that's, I didn't think of this, and it's obvious. When we're in that pursuit of perfection, and this is, I think, what Baryshnikov was trying to say, we're usually holding on so tight that, what he talks about, the impulse, well, that's what I would say, spirit can't come in. There's no place for spirit in that. And I don't know about you, but I remember one of the talks I had to do when I was doing a talk every Sunday, because I was the senior minister, and I really felt awful one morning, just felt like crap. And I said, okay, Spirit, you got to do this one. Well, guess what was one of the best talks I've ever sometimes I really have to get kicked to get out of the way. But that's that idea that when we're holding too tight to that perfection, we aren't alive and awake to inspiration, to breathing in. And there's kind of a flow that can happen. I'm still new at that experience. There's kind of a flow that can happen when we let go of that need to control everything so tightly. So I have another question for you. Anybody who's still kind of hanging out and, yeah, but I know how to make things perfect, and it's, who I am, and people have told me how I do things so perfect, and, if it's really the excellence, then you would feel differently as you go to each thing that you do perfectly. But if you're feeling any of that not light, not joyous, dread, then here's another way to think. And if it's helpful for you to close your eyes again, do that. Think of one or two people that you feel the most loved by, that you feel the most accepted by, that you feel safe in their presence. Just bring that person or those people to mind. Kind of maybe see them going about their day or in all the ways that you've known them. Are they perfect? Do they do everything perfectly? Do they look perfect, have the perfect home, always send the perfect notes? Maybe they send the perfect notes. I would bet they probably aren't. They're authentic. And so they allow you to be authentic. So if the people that you love and feel loved most by are not perfect, then why do you have to be perfect? Why do we think we have to be perfect? Are you ready to let it go? Are you ready to let go of the pursuit of perfection? Anybody? We'll talk after Marty. I think Marty dresses so perfectly, so I'm gonna you stay perfect. I like that. I told you I'd get back to that Bible quote, to that Judeo-Christian Bible quote. Be ye perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. Some of you practitioners probably know, and some of the others of you know, did that word perfect, did that come from the idea of without any flaw? No. It means complete. The language that it came from, the Hebrew, meant complete, not without flaw, but complete. And one of the first affirmations that a lot of us learn when we come into this teaching is, I am perfect, whole, and complete. And it doesn't mean that I never make a mistake. It means that I am of divine stuff, and I was created by that which doesn't make mistakes. So even in my places where I stumble, I am not a mistake. I am not unworthy. I am not unlovable. I am perfect, whole, and complete. As my friend Reverend David Bruner used to say, in all that I am and all that I am not. I am, you are, we are perfect, whole, and complete. One of my favorite teaching stories comes from the Jewish tradition, maybe the Hasidic tradition. And there was this man named Zusa. And he wanted to be perfect. He wanted to be a good Jew. He wanted to bring honor to his family and have his rabbi be pleased with him. And so he watched his neighbor to see what his neighbor would do and tried to be like that. And then he watched his uncle, who was just really perfect at certain things, tried to be like that. And so his life went. He just kept watching people who he thought did it the right way and tried to be like them. Well, the day came when it was time for Zusa to drop his body. And this is this part of the story I get confused about because in my mind it's, so he was up at the pearly gates and talking to St. Peter, and then I think, probably not in that story. Probably St. Peter wasn't known about in that story. But so he meets God for the sort of reckoning of his life, and he said, oh, God, I tried to be like this, I tried to be like that, I tried to be like that. God said, why did you not just be Zusa? Why did you not try to just be Zusa? That's who we were created to be. Now, I do have some practices for you, for especially those of you who are really thinking, okay, yeah, I'm ready to let go. But because we know that nature abhors a vacuum, as does Bodie Kurtz, our dog. Okay. I did not write that. That is not in my notes. But what that means is when we let go of an old idea, an old belief that doesn't serve us, we have to have ways that we fill it. We can't just leave that hole because a lot of times some other stinking thinking comes in. So we need to do practices. And one is just to pay attention. Ask what's motivating you for your endeavors. Is it fear? Or is it love and trust? Am I doing this because I'm excited to see how it turns out? Or am I have a death grip on it turning out a certain way? And what we need to do in that place of fear, letting go of fear, is cultivate trust. And the way to cultivate trust, one is, and I say this every darn time I speak, have a daily spiritual practice. You could take that page from Living the Science of Mind, you know, daily contact with the infinite. One of my favorite things I've ever heard Eric say when I've tuned into his talks here is that God adores us. God adores you. So tune in every day in whatever way is comfortable. And even if you just sit for 5 minutes in a chair and say, baby, I'm yours. You know, something eventually will respond back to you. And you will start to feel maybe there is something I can trust. And while you're getting there, have a sangha or do your prayer circle. Be with a tribe that supports you in knowing the truth of who you are, your authentic self, not that elusive, perfect self that you made up. And always, I hope I always say this too, see a practitioner. If you feel you're really struggling and you want more, like, I know that sometimes if there's something that is really, I'm really hanging on to, you know, I might listen to a talk and that part that still got a death grip, that fear, the talk's over and I can't remember a thing because there's something inside me that's still wanting to hold on to that. So see a practitioner. You have wonderful practitioners here. That's their job, is to help you see through the beliefs about you that are not true and remind you of a truth and truths that somewhere part of you knows, but just you haven't fed that yet. You've fed the other wolf, if you remember that story. And finally, one of my favorite practices is something that I want to teach y'all. And some of you may know this. You guys done releasing prayers? You probably have. They're wonderful prayers, and I'm talking about the ones that look like this. Some of you are like, what are you talking about? Marcia Sutton, who was one of our great teachers, she and her writing working partner created tools for students of Science of Mind. And they came on this idea of releasing prayers, or what as part of a larger group of things called posture prayers, because they found that in our neurology, when we do things with our body, it affects us in a deeper way. What the body does, the soul remembers. So releasing prayers are great, and it's great to create other ones. I'm going to create help you. We're today going to do a very simple one that you may want to tailor it or go to a practitioner with help to do one that's maybe a little bit more tailored to you. But I'm going to just do a simple one today that probably would work for all of us, and then you play with it. So what we do, and I'll have to remember to do this backwards so I can is with our left hand, we release a belief that doesn't serve us. And so that's the past. We release the past. And I'll give you the wording later, but we start out with the left hand. Then with the right hand, we release the future. And this part is a little bit interesting, so I'll kind of talk to you. I have a word I'm going to have you do with this, and then you're going to create your own word for this. The future, we have a belief, and often we do things, run around frantically doing something. It's our individual MO to keep that thing we fear from coming to pass. And so more on that in a minute. So we release our past belief. We release our future need to do or be something. And then we say, I am grateful God is the, and we pick a quality of God and we're anchoring it in our heart. I am grateful God is the, in this case we'll say the wholeness I am. So we're going to release our belief in perfect. Just even the whole blankety blank concept of perfect. I release my belief in perfect. So now the part that I want you guys to think about for a minute is when that's rising up in you and you are afraid something's not going to be perfect, what is your MO? What do you do? Some of us get paralyzed. I know I used to say I released my belief in approval. I needed people's approval. Well, wait, sorry, back up. I release my belief that I'm not enough. And what do I do when I have a fear of that I'm not enough? I start running around and getting your approval. I'm charming and I'm funny and oh, I'm so lovable and this and that. You know, I finally realized, and yes, I can be charming and I am lovable, but it's that again, what is driving me is fear. I'm not doing this because I want to be charming because it's fun. It's so people will like me. So what is your MO for perfect? Do you overanalyze? Do you get really busy? Do you just avoid? Oh, yeah, all of it, Dave. So just pick one. So just take a moment and think, what do you, and it isn't that any of these things are bad, it's when you need to. So you're, so do you guys have, does everybody sort of have something? It doesn't have to be perfect. If you have a sense of, you know, if you rush around and get busy, if you start criticizing. So to review, with the left hand, I release my belief in perfect. You know, that anything, that there's even a concept of perfect. I release my belief in perfect. I release my need, and I'm just going to say avoid, because that's one of my favorite. Avoid, get busy, analyze. I am grateful God is the wholeness I am. So yeah, we're bringing that right into our center. So I'd love you, because you figure if you're all talking, nobody can hear what you're saying. So I would love you, we're going to practice once out loud, and then I'm going to have you stand. Individually, just kidding, no. No, we do that in a workshop. This is not a workshop. So let's practice saying it out loud. I release my belief in perfect. I release my need to avoid. I am grateful God is the wholeness I am. Okay, everybody sort of got that? So I'm going to invite you to stand. Stand in your, not your faux power, but your true power. Okay, and we'll do it 3 times. Release belief, release need, grateful God is. Okay. I release my belief in perfect. I release my need to avoid. I am grateful God is the wholeness I am. And I heard someone say love, and that's cool too. I release my belief in perfect. I release my need to avoid. I am grateful God is the wholeness I am. One more. I release my belief in perfect. I release my need to avoid. I am grateful God is the wholeness I am. And so it is. And so just again in prayer, as we take all of this in and recognize that despite what I just said, or really the truth underneath what I've just said, is that there is an inherent perfection in each of us. Because who each of us is the divine in unique, individual form, just as we are and just as we aren't. And so I speak my word knowing that God working in and as and through each of us is daily opening us up to more excellence, more joy, to be a fuller, cleaner, clearer expression of God. For some of us, it's to be a clear expression of love. For some of us, it's to be a clear expression of creativity. For some of us, it's to be a clearer, cleaner expression of wisdom. Whatever it is, that we open to that and we let go of that tension and exhausting drive to be perfect in the definition that means without any kind of mistake, and embrace that innate perfection. And I know that we have all the support we need to do this by our human friends and family in this community especially, and through that God who adores us. And so as we open to this, as we move into this, we truly do know that each of us is as God created us truly, with the life, with the light, with the glory, with all of it. And I'm so grateful for this knowing. And I release this word knowing that it is so. Together we say, and so it is. Cal up so we can sing that. If the releasing prayer wasn't your deal, we'll sing. Does that work? Okay. So some of you know this song, and maybe we'll just turn off my monitor because I don't need to be loud. I can just be with my real voice.
Called In the Light. It's very easy. I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory of God, I am. And then there's a repeat, in the light, in the love, in the light, in the love, in the glory, in the light, in the love, in the glory. That's really easy. You'll catch it real fast. I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory. I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory.
Now we switch.
I
Okay.
No, that's fine. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory, I am. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory, I am. I am as God created me, in the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory, I am. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory. In the light, in the love, in the glory, I am.
That was a great surprise. Thank you, Cal and Reverend Liz. That was great. So now is a time that I remind you that Genesis is supported by God, and we welcome you to be part of how God's support shows up. If you are on Facebook, please visit our website at genesiscsl.org, or you can text your tithe to 206-800-7595. That's 206-800-7595. Let us take a moment for all who are still, you can craft your prayers, and we will be passing those out to our practitioners this week, and they will be prayed over during the week. And take a moment to fill out your pledge cards as well. Good thing I'm not a perfectionist. So if you would take your prayer cards and your offering envelopes, or your offering card if you contribute online, and hold them to your heart and say together our offering blessing. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am thankful. And now Randy will go around and pick up your offering and your tithe cards. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm not a perfectionist.
I'm open to not doing it perfect. That's okay. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God is my source. God is my power. God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need. God gives me everything I need.
And so it is with deep gratitude. I say thank you, thank you, thank you for the blessings that we have all received today from Reverend Liz's message, from Randy's reading and prayer, for each of you being here and joining us today. Our blessings were great, great, and great. So thank you all so much. I'm glad you were here today. Thank you for joining us, and I wish everyone a week filled with joy and love and true connection. And if you would now stand and sing with us our closing song.